So real quick, first, this was kind of some breaking news today, right off the bat. The CFTC chairman says 70 to 80% of cryptocurrencies are non-securities. So this is pretty big. And I mean, this has been like a talking point, a sticking point in the industry for, feels like forever, especially with the SEC and with Gary Gensler and stuff like that. I think that as people see it, you know, cryptocurrencies are either like a security or they're a commodity. And there's been like this argument between the two, the two sides, and there's ramifications for each, right? If it's a security, obviously that adds another layer of complexity for crypto when we really don't need it. And then having it a commodity changes things completely, right? Changes how people can invest in it and the dynamic of it. And seeing that statement just come out moments before the show was very, very interesting. And I mean, there's video of it, you know, it's been confirmed and everything. So that's very interesting. And I'd say that that's something to keep an eye on, because it's going to have a massive effect on the industry if in fact, you know, crypto is deemed a commodity, and especially if HBAR is deemed a commodity. I mean, that would be massive. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Fingers crossed. This was pretty cool too. Just ripping through a couple posts and updates here from the ecosystem and community. Only LARPing from Karate Combat, which has been going crazy. I mean, the last fight they had, it was KC 48 or 47, I can't remember, but I placed bets on the fight. It was great. As we know, May, the CEO of HashPack, was in Karate Combat, and they're growing. Like, they're just seeing consistent growth. And this post was great. So Only LARPing, I think he's the CEO or presenter or whoever for Karate Combat, one of the main dudes. I think he literally, choked someone out. But basically, they say, been here for 10 years, obviously meaning the crypto industry, and can't remember a more bullish crypto scenario to date. Crypto Twitter on, what watch, stocks at all-time high, shocking regulatory tailwinds, ETH ETF launching, rates peaked, post-halving, 4 months of consolidation, consumer crypto green shoots, obviously Karate Combat being one of those. And it does get you thinking. We've seen a couple posts kind of sharing that sentiment of like, hey, there's a lot of stuff happening here that's leading up to this bull market. And we have seen the correction, and that has been interesting to see unfold, especially with Bitcoin at, what is it at now? Bitcoin being at 57, 58, so I think, and, with HBAR being down at, 6.6 cents, 6.7 cents. So we're really kind of riding down on some of these key levels. And we have some, I'll do some actually, maybe we can just share it really quick. This is pretty cool. Community member, dude, bruh, whoa. I've been wanting to get this guy on the show. I hope I can get him on the show soon, but no, man, good to see you. Yeah. If you're watching, give the show a share, leave a comment. The more the merrier. I think there's some other broadcast happening right now too. So I am competing with some other major broadcasts in the Hedera space. But whoa, hold on. Whoa, bruh, dude, bruh. Great username. Provided a little bit of a TA breakdown, a technical analysis breakdown on HBAR, obviously sharing the charts. They're a great source for technical analysis. Like, they do some pretty detailed stuff. Again, would love to have them on the show. I don't think they've ever been on a show before, but I find their takes to be pretty good. So the key takeaway here is there's a green box here that they've been sharing over and over again, and that's the buy zone, right? So what they're talking about in this post is a wick stopping at resistance, right? A wick being on the candle, where the maximum it goes either up or down before the time is closed for the candle. We really are hitting this resistance at 6.7, which is really interesting. It does show some strong support at that level. And the market is, as they say, in a pullback phase. So if the price loses this 6.7 area that we're at, the 6.7 cents, the next target's going to be 6 cents, according to this individual. And then if we drop further down the buy zone, right, which is around here, this is supposedly the area that's really great to buy if you're kind of swinging, I guess. If we drop beneath this, then the next target would be 4 to 3.5 cents. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And the upper area shows predicted price movements. And I think that, you know, this makes sense. This is a pretty straightforward vanilla technical analysis on HBAR. I think most alt charts would kind of look like this if you were doing a technical analysis. And this area right here, I think, is another interesting level, is kind of the 17 to 19 cent range. That's where we would actually potentially see some kind of breakout, some kind of new price discovery. So just, you know, wanted to give a shout out to some really good, I think, technical analysis from the community. So HBAR TA, dude, whatever your username is, awesome stuff. Continuing on here, there was another great piece of content published by the Hashgraph DeFi Alliance, which I help out with. They published this on Medium, and this is a great article they've been working on for a while. I just have to kind of mention it just because it's great, but it basically outlines an ecosystem size step function for Hedera DeFi 2.0. This piece was authored by HLiquidity, Bonds of Finance, Serial Finance, Headstarter, Hashgraph DeFi Alliance. Obviously, there's an angle. You know, there's an angle on borrowing and lending, and I've had you know, Brady on the show from Bonzo Finance, and I've spoken with folks at HLiquidity and at Serial Finance and stuff. And seriously, you know, again, when you think about the fact that, if, you know, the American economy, or up here in the Canadian economy, or really any economy, borrowing and lending is more than half of it. Like, if we didn't have borrowing and lending, then we wouldn't have an economy. So when you think about the fact that 44% of total value locked on all the other networks is borrowing and lending, and we don't have borrowing and lending on Hedera, really, I think that you can sum up DeFi 2.0 on Hedera as just borrowing and lending. And because when you have that, it implies that a bunch of other stuff is available, like oracles, like we on the last episode 132. I had Gerbert the GRELF on, and we were talking about the fact that on GitHub, Chainlink was getting ready to ship for Hedera. So obviously Chainlink in the coming months making some big moves, kind of another one of these breadcrumbs that's turning into something very tangible, which is an Oracle service. So this new push of Hedera DeFi beyond just DEXs is going to be really, really important. It's going to be really, really big, in my opinion. I'm very, very excited about it. One other thing on that just is a little bit of a flip that I think is important to keep in mind is, hello, thank you for tuning in. Another thing that I think is important to keep in mind is a key component of DeFi on Hedera is bridging, right? It's making sure people that are on, you know, other networks like Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, Algorand, like all these other networks where this liquidity is, can take those assets and bridge them to Hedera, bring their stuff with them into Hedera. Many HBARbarians will know about bridging because when DOVU was originally minted as an ERC20 coin before they did the migration to HTS, many people that were buying DOVU early, and I mean like 2020, 2021, even 2022, before Saucer Swap existed, what you would do is you would buy DOVU on a centralized exchange, and you'd go to HashPort to bridge that DOVU token over to Hedera. So that's how a lot of people got into DOVU and experienced bridges. And I saw this post on the Hedera subreddit. I think it's a little dramatic. I mean, you know, HashPort is barely a shadow of what it once was. Again, I think it's a little dramatic. I think the issue here is the user experience and not reliability or stability, just more speed of HashPort has seen a degradation. And I think, again, this is due to a lack of support for some key pillars in the Hedera ecosystem. And I mean, I've talked with HashPort, and we like HashPort says, like, we need more bridges. Like, we cannot be the only bridge. And I'll be honest, the fact that we're 6 years in and Hedera only has one bridge is crazy. Like, it's crazy that Hedera only has one bridge, because again, how are you going to get people into the ecosystem? How are you going to get new liquidity in? You have to have bridges. And the fact that we only have one, and it doesn't yet support Solana, it isn't maybe as supported as it could be. We don't know the details. All we know is that bridging in Hedera is in a pretty sorry state right now. And I mean, credit where credit's due. I mean, HashPort, if we didn't have HashPort, I don't know. I don't know if we would have a functioning ecosystem, because so many people, like, I wouldn't have been able to, dive into DOVU. DOVU wouldn't have, like, DOVU, that's a great example. DOVU would not have been able to get where they are in the ecosystem if HashPort didn't exist, because that's how many people and many HBARbarians invested. DOVU was an ERC20 coin. So, man, we need some love for HashPort, straight up. Flipping back to this, just to the karate combat stuff, just giving a shout out to Genfinity. They did a fantastic piece that I think is really important for people to check out. It basically goes through the whole history of karate combat, how it got started, all those different types of things. And it kind of runs through the history. And I think that this is really great because so many people out there are starting a project on Hedera or just crypto or Web3 in general. And it's hard. I mean, it's really hard. And karate combat, as it turns out, is becoming like the flagship consumer crypto project in many ways that just kind of happens to be on Hedera. And so I think that, again, if you're a builder, if you're a founder, whatever, I mean, read that. This is kind of a blueprint. It turns out it works really well. But I would definitely check it out. Also in that vein, May from HashPack started a newsletter that's really great. Her first article that she published kind of went into the thought process and approach with HashPack. Again, another great resource for any other founders or builders on Hedera that kind of want to, get the inside look, the behind the scenes wisdom of some of these successful use cases. Another great thing. So check out, I think it's on Substack. Check out Mei Chen, CEO of HashPack. Check it out on Substack. Continuing on here, I mentioned Gerbert the GRELF. He announced some exclusive news on the last episode, 132, about GRELF token, the meme token on Hedera, being listed on CoinStore, a centralized exchange. And this was pretty big because, like we were talking about, this sets sets precedent for so many other HTS coins to be integrated into centralized exchanges. And so seeing GRELF on here with, what does it look like, 68,000 volume. We're seeing some interesting price action on here. I mean, just great to see. Like, this is a, Hedera token service, meme coin in a centralized exchange. We also saw, Saucer Swap, Pack token, a bunch of other ones listed in, tier ones like Gate.io and stuff. So it's happening. This is something that we've been talking about for years, is can we get some of these native HTS assets listed in other centralized exchanges? We're seeing that now, which is amazing. But I do think that the next step is then what can we do to get some of these HTS native assets listed in decentralized exchanges on other networks, which requires bridging, right? So that's kind of where this all comes together. So it's very interesting, a lot of work to be done, but obviously we've come a long way. This is something very cool I wanted to highlight. Everyone loves a hackathon, and this is a pretty serious hackathon. This is a Hello Future hackathon from Hedera, and it looks like Angel Hack. And basically, this is a great opportunity for builders on Hedera to, get in there, submit your applications, and start winning some prizes. And the details here are the event runs from July 22nd to August 20th, so about a month. The deadline for registration is the August 18th, so I mean, cutting it close. And the focus is on Hedera, obviously. So the hackathon right here, the criteria is utilizing Hedera's distributed ledger technology. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different tracks here, right? There's a bunch of different themes, which include real world asset tokenization, DeFi, and a few different, like, you know, the Hashgraph Trailblazers, which is more advanced, the Hashgraph Explorers, which is more beginner, prizes ranging from, you know, a couple grand up to like, you know, 40 grand with a total prize pool of $300,000. So sizable. Like when we talk about onboarding developers into Hedera, right on. This is what it's all about. I love it. Thanks, Gary. Good to see you. Also too, fun update. This is something I was a part of. Just a quick mention. Little plug here. The company I work for, Hgraph, mirror node services provider on Hedera. We're doing a bunch of cool stuff. If I'm in your DMs, if anybody is interested in some alpha, we got some very cool stuff coming, which I'm very excited about and not allowed to share on the show, but shoot me a DM if you're interested. But we've got a little alliance with one of our customers here, HashPack. You may know them. And basically this is about raising awareness for, as I've talked about on the show, the other half of the network, right? Putting transactions into the network is really important. It's a lot of what we talk about, but one of the most important aspects of crypto across any network is reading that information and not just getting a list of transactions on an Explorer, but actually getting insights, the data science behind it. So this alliance we have with our customer HashPack is going to be really important because, I mean, HashPack's just a legend in the ecosystem. I've known them for so long. And it's about raising awareness for mirror nodes. I think people are starting to get the idea of what it's about, why they're important. Another similar to bridges, right? A little, very important, but a little under supported. And I think that there's so many of these plays, so many of these opportunities to really turbocharge the ecosystem. And I think mirror nodes are one of those things. And people are talking a lot about mirror nodes right now. So it's a great time to dive into that. Something else, just a little bit on the kind of like rumor breadcrumb side of things that I wanted to touch on is this tweet from Tom D. Johnson. Says, for what it's worth, Atma has changed. AtmaIO obviously being the use case on Hedera, producing like 95% of transactions, the consensus service. Atma has changed their transaction distribution on Hedera from about half of the nodes, meaning consensus nodes, to basically all the nodes. They are either testing the network, demonstrating trust in the entire network, or making way for more volume. So I think that clearly, like, just to kind of articulate that a little more, is what that means is when AtmaIO submits a transaction, they can submit that transaction to various governing council nodes. And by expanding the variety of nodes that they're submitting transactions to, it does show that that use case is embracing the network more and more. And it shows that the trust is growing in the network. And I would agree that it is a sign of scaling that use case, because if you are going to be growing the amount of transactions you're going to be submitting to the network, for performance reasons, you're going to want to distribute those transactions amongst more nodes, right? Just logically. So the breadcrumb here is, can we expect to see an increase of transactions from Avery Dennison AtmaIO, on top of the ongoing kind of looming question of when will that use case transition from subsidized to unsubsidized? So we'll have to see. We're keeping an eye on it. Another update from Citadel Wallet. This is something I'm excited about. Obviously, hardware wallets on Hedera are a big topic. And Citadel provides an update. There's a major community update coming this week covering a full progress report when the night holders can begin to claim their hardware wallets, info about the wallets being built, audits are coming close. So we're keeping an eye out for an update from Citadel Wallet this week. Obviously not today, but I'd expect it maybe, tomorrow, Thursday or Friday. So we'll have to see, but good stuff. I love to see kind of these hardware use cases on Hedera. I think it's critical. Something else that's pretty cool right now, and I think it's just maybe wrapping up, but there is the ETH CC conference happening. Patches from Swirlds Labs is giving a talk on tokenizing real world assets. So there's Patches there. Quite a groovy venue. Maybe someone's house, I don't know, but that looks very schwanky. Good crowd. And clearly, Hedera and Swirlds really embedding themselves in this real world asset discussion, especially all the action we've seen with RCAX and how they're tokenizing like money market funds with Aberdeen and BlackRock and all these other different things. I think that the real world asset narrative will continue picking up steam. I don't think that this is all we're going to have. And it's very cool to see Hedera in the center of that conversation, both like we see here with developers and then also just at the enterprise level. And Hedera has the stablecoin studio and all these different types of things. So yeah, honestly, really, really interesting stuff. And shout out to Patches, spreading the good word. I've been told that I've got to get Matt Smithy's on the show again, the CTO of DOVU. It's so funny. I get people sometimes that just want guests on the show. So, as folks know, it's easy to call into the show. Hashgraph.news/call, type it in and join the show. Anyone can join. So, Matt, if you're around, feel free to join. Also, Justin from Swirlds Labs would be good to have on the show. He was working on some of the Guardian stuff that I think in regards to the Deloitte news that we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, and shout out to Six Figure Crypto. Thank you for the nice words. But this piece here, DOVU is announcing the alpha release of their charger protocol. So last I had Matt on the show is we were talking about their charger protocol and how it works with their ecosystem, right? So on DOVU, you'll be leveraging AI services and different protocols and APIs to create, issue carbon credits, create those things and speed those things up. And so to pay for those services in real time, this charger protocol allows you to kind of have almost like streaming payments for API calls. So very similar to Hedera, right? On Hedera, when you want to submit transactions, your wallet is charged in real time for those transactions, right? When you send an HBAR, it charges you that fee as you do it. Versus OpenAI, you have your credit card on your account, you're using ChatGPT, and then you build up a balance, and then you pay your balance. So this is essentially providing that experience on kind of like a little layer up, and giving applications the option to have like a project token like DOVU and paying for those types of API calls for services. So this is pretty big, a little technical, but if anyone's curious or has been keeping up with this, definitely go check it out. I think this is going to be useful for, of course, people in the DOVU ecosystem, but also just in general. I'm very excited to see what happens with that. What else we got? No, that's pretty much all the ecosystem updates actually. So, lots happening, obviously. I was just listening to a Spaces. The HBAR Foundation was doing a Spaces with Neuron and Seals or Seal SQ, WiseKey. One of those things, the satellite one, the SpaceX one. Very interesting stuff. We're talking big numbers, like they're launching satellites. We're going to have in the future like 5 trillion devices talking with each other and sending payments with each other on Hedera and stuff. So it's this very big vision, very big stuff. We also had Neuron. I was listening, and they were, Neuron, obviously we've covered them on the show, and they've actually got people now, many HBAR variants that actually have the sensors and stuff on their roofs, collecting data and pumping through neurons. So these use cases that we've been talking about in this ecosystem, both enterprise and retail and kind of in between, like, I know that we complain a lot that things have taken time and we got to be patient and there's been delays, like, what's going on with coupons, but there are use cases, another karate combat. And I mean, you can continue listing them, but there are both retail and enterprise use cases that are turning over. And I do think that this year in particular, and especially the next 6 months, are critical for the ecosystem. So it's very exciting to see that stuff happening. But